Hi, it's Carol from Crinkled Path Journals again, and today is a party day. I'm getting ready to do a 2-page spread in my altered book, which I've been doing my junk journal memory keeping in. And today I wanted to share about one of my best birthdays ever in the history of my life. And it was my first time ever having other children for a birthday party, and it's all because my big sister decided to do a birthday party for me, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And this is some of the stuff that I want to use to put on the page to recall this great memory I have had. So won't you join me so that we can get some things on the page and see how we can make this all fit? I have mentioned before that my siblings were much older than I was, and my sister was often like my second mom, and she loved to do special fun things for me and take me on picnic lunches. And when I was really young, and I want to say it was first grade, I'm pretty sure it was first grade, she decided that I needed a real birthday party. And I had friends from school and friends from the neighborhood that she invited, and she planned this whole little party for me. And by today's standards, it was probably pretty simplistic, but I was tickled pink because I found this book, and it's sort of like a Dick and Jane book. Here, wait, it's buried. Characters kind of from the 50s when Dick and Jane were first written, I believe. And these pages, just the pictures jumped out at me right away because they were all things, I don't know, maybe my sister read this story and then decided to do the party, but I think it's more coincidence. I think it's just they were common party things to do in the 70s, even through since the 50s. And so I just was thinking it was so ironic that all the same things were in my birthday that are in the story. So Pin the Tail on the Donkey and a clown beanbag toss. The one she made was actually like a full standing clown and had its mouth big wide open to throw beanbags in. And then she made these ice cream cones upside down and froze them, and we got to decorate them like clowns. And they're in the book too, as well as just the little children with their party clothes on. I just remember my friends coming kind of dressed to the nines in their little dresses and their curly hair in pigtails, and some of the boys from my class even came in their slacks and turtlenecks. And I just can so vividly picture these kids all coming to my party, and it was just such a great day. And we played Pin the Tail on the Donkey, and the Pin the Tail on the Donkey that we played, I think that this picture of the donkey has been the same for decades, and they sell them at the dollar store now, and it's a vintage piece of ephemera to me. I thought I would try and get part of him on the page and get the storybook pages on the page. I have some vintage wrapping paper, some crepe paper streamers, which she used to decorate over our dining table, and then also some little balloons. And then I might incorporate one more of my paper doll outfits. They've kind of ended up under my ribbon bin here, so we'll have to look through there. And maybe this is a party dress today, so we'll see how it all comes together as we try and get all this stuff on the page. So what I was thinking of doing with the book pages, I'll lose the picture of the kids eating the cake and ice cream, but I'm pretty sure we just did the little clowns for my birthday. We didn't have cake, and I have to sacrifice something. I've got a little too much going on here. And then I'm gonna sacrifice this page and glue this one with the little girl holding the gift on this page. And then I'm thinking when I pull it, it will accordion fold out. So I'm gonna start by gluing these two pieces together, and then I'll glue this onto the page. So do you have a particular birthday that stood out to you because it was a bigger than usual affair? Did your family celebrate birthdays? Did you have parties? My family usually had my aunt and uncle that lived very close to us. I've talked about her a lot, sort of my grandparent aunt and uncle that they just kind of filled that role for me. And my cousins that I had stayed with in preschool were their two daughters. They both had muscular dystrophy, and so they were home, and they did a lot of community volunteer stuff like I've talked about. They did the animal rehabilitation and birds and stuff for Audubon Society, and they were art teachers, and they did ceramics classes at a local church, and you know, they were just very active people. Their disabilities, physical disabilities, did not slow them down, and I was so privileged to have these people in my life. So typically my birthday would have just been my aunt and uncle and my cousins, and my cousins were closer in age to my parents, so that might explain a little bit why they took care of me. And would have been my sister and brother. And then probably prior to this birthday party, it might have only been my good friend who lived down the street and her brother. Those two might have come to some kind of little birthday celebration, but never a big party. And so this was a very extra special year that my sister planned this party. So do you see how that flips out and this flips open? And in the past, when I've used book pages from a similar book that's bound this way with the strings that go all through it, I reinforce it with washi. I used book pages from a similar aged book when I did the Thimble Hunt page. I want to put a pocket here on the front with the birthday wrapping, because this first page is not about the party. It's giving the puppy a ride. This is kind of a wonky shaped piece of paper, so I'm going to cut that down. I think I'm going to use my ruler because my paper trimmer seems to have gone astray. I usually sit on the couch at night and cut up ephemera pieces and do fussy cutting and stuff, and so a lot of times my stuff are over there and not here at my desk, and I forget. So I think I'm just gonna trace and cut this one rather than tearing it. Nice. I'm thinking now, because if I make it a pocket, I want to be able to do a thumb notch, and I don't want to cut her little face off. Maybe I'll just put a thumb notch here on the side. And again, I talked about before that if you're going to have a side pocket, better to have it on the outside of the page than the end. Let's do that. Get that nice and even on the page and get my thumb notch in there. Oh, and all my punches are over there too. Okay, that's gonna wait. Now let's try and get our little donkey on the page. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him over here, do the whole page, and then I think I might make him a pocket too and cut out some of the tails to put the tails in the pocket. So if anybody knows the origin of the pin the tail on the donkey game, I'd love to know that. I suppose I could Google it, but it's fun to hear from you guys what you think and what you know. So Sorry to chop you up, little donkey. Do you remember any party games that you ever played? Maybe not for a birthday, or maybe not for your birthday, but maybe you went to a birthday party and played games. I remember that the neighbor girl down the street, her mom decided in like 2nd grade or 3rd grade to do a little dance party for her. And she invited the little boys and girls from the neighborhood, and then the only 2 people who would dance together were the brother and sister that lived down the street. It was definitely, you know, the age of cooties, and so the dancing was Mom's great idea, but it kind of went over like a lead balloon with the kids. Where do I want to make your pocket? That's got to fold, but I don't want the words to show. Yeah, I guess I'll just do the same thing on this side and put the pocket here. That's great. I want to put the blindfold. Maybe that can tuck in the pocket too. Let's see. Yep, that works. And I can use that as a journaling card. Tuck that in. I was thinking I would take the crepe paper streamers and I would sew them in. I also thought I might try a no-sew way of putting it in that looks kind of sewn, because I can't film on my machine. It's just in a bad spot to get a camera hooked up to the table. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and just glue this in like I would ruffle sew it, and do it along the edge of this page. So I'm gonna tuck the first one, which means then I have to glue a little bit underneath here. Try not to block my light. And I'm just gonna glue right in the center. And then I'm just gonna go back and forth doing that to form like a little ruffle. Oh, and it was so nicely rolled up, but that's not gonna stay that way. Of course, crepe paper doesn't do real well with wetness. So of course I'm trying to use my art glitter glue so it'll be as dry as possible, but it may discolor a little bit. But I'm okay with that. I mean, if it was truly as old as I am, it would be discolored anyway from being in the closet that long. I don't know how old this crepe paper is. It's probably at least been around since my daughter's birthdays, childhood birthdays from the late 90s, early 2000s. So I don't know if you can see this. I feel like my hand is always in the way of the lighting when I have to hold on the left side of something. It blocks the light. So this is definitely an instance where sewing probably would have been easier, just because when I'm sewing a ruffle, all I have to do is sort of feed it into the machine and fold it as I go, whereas this one, to tack it down, it's a lot of back and forth. But if you don't have a sewing machine, I guess this is a tutorial just for you. Because I know a lot of us don't have enough instance to where we use a sewing machine. And I've had friends who have purchased the like the We Are Memory Keepers paper sewing machines, and the couple friends that I have that use them were not very crazy about them. So I just use a needle that I have for paper, and then I have other needles for when I'm sewing it on fabric. I'm gonna tuck the torn part under. And then I'm gonna glue it down on this edge. Okay, well that's a good start on my ruffle. I have some balloons. So I thought I'd include a balloon cluster of some kind. I can tie them together like I would if they had been blown up and then they deflated. Let's see if my fingers are strong enough to get that tied in there. So I think I'm gonna stick that, let's see, this way, this way. Okay, I think I'm going to staple those down. Gonna take up a little bit of pocket space for me, but I think it'll be okay. Not planning on putting anything giant in there. Okay, there's that little cluster. And we sort of have all the eclectic colors going on here. Pink and orange and yellow and green and blue. But I'm pretty sure that's kind of the way the 70s were, so it's not too far off from the true reflection. I think I'm going to put the party dress here. I actually wore like a yellow tuxedo shirt to this party that I'm remembering. At least it had a little ruffle on the front that just kind of reminds me of those old 70s tuxedo shirts. I didn't wear a party dress. I don't know that I owned a party dress, but I remember being very impressed with all my guests coming looking like their very best and all spiffy and excited to be at a party. So I got my party dress, I've got my balloons, I've got my pin the tail on the donkey, some gift wrap, and my book pages with the ice cream. I've got to get some washi tape to reinforce that, the punch, and then to work on cutting out some of my tails. So there's the washi, there's the punch. I'm going to reinforce my pages here. Now I'm going to set the book aside. Let's cut out some tails. I think I'm going to cut out the 6, because if I'm correct in remembering, it was, I believe, my 6th birthday party, because it was kids that I went to 1st grade with that I remember coming, and then the neighbor kids that lived nearby at that time. So I'm going to cut out the 6. And instead of putting them in the pocket, I might stick these on the page too. And then I'm trying to think what other number would be cool. I think I'm going to cut out the 5 and the 7. not because I want 5, 6, 7, but because I turned 6 in 1975. I went ahead and stapled these on here and here. My phone had another little hiccup, but you didn't miss much. I just finished cutting these out. One of the other things we played at the party was bingo. I grabbed a bingo card out of my Happy Mail from my friend Darshan that I did a recent unboxing for. And I think I'm going to make a journaling card out of this. And I thought it might be fun to maybe embellish the front, just like a corner of it. And I think I'm going to put our little donkeys behind on the back of here, where you would pin the tail on him and go ahead and put a tail on him. And I think that it's light enough that I can write on it, but I thought that would be fun to include his head and his tail. While I'm cutting this out, I wanted to take a minute and do a little thank you announcement. I hear so much so often about the spirit of the community of junk journaling channels and Instagrammers, and I have begun to experience the kindness of that community a little bit in the last week. And I want to say this is episode 18. I don't know off the top of my head, but 18 videos into just this series and flip throughs over the year before starting this. And I've just started to get comments on the videos, which is really nice. And especially, you know, in every video I ask you to share your story, and I realize that mostly I'm not getting comments because not very many people have found the channel yet. So I'm hoping, even if this is a long time after this video was posted, I hope you'll still feel like you can share your stories when you stumble across my channel. I wanted to say thank you, roundabout to what I'm trying to get to. I wanted to say 2 particular thank yous. One first to Brittany Linger. I don't know if I'm saying that, Linger, who found me on Instagram, and then that led to my YouTube channel for her. And she gets the kudos for being the first person to actually share a little bit about herself in response to one of my questions. Sorry, my glue is very stuck. Thank you, Brittany, and I hope to see you around the channel more, and that you will continue to inspire others to share their stories with me and with our community. And then my second thank you goes to a YouTube creator named Linda, and her channel is Linda's Mixed Up Mess, and she is a true junk journaler. She likes to journal with all kinds of found items. I appreciate so much her spirit of kindness and support, sharing newbie creators on her channel, and I need to try and do that more as I continue to make videos. So thanks for inspiring me to do that, Linda, and for your kind comments and your shout out. What number do I want now? I think I'm gonna check real quick to see what episode this is, and I'm gonna pick the number for this episode and pin it on the donkey. Okay, I confirmed that it's number 17, so we're gonna go with that. I'm gonna put it on a little bit high just because I don't want it hanging off so far that it gets all bent up coming in and out of the pocket. Let's see, what do we want to put on the front? We got a lot of color going on here. I was thinking maybe I could add, I've got this piece. I have some of this out here on my ruffle. I was thinking I could use maybe this little yellow flower, or this orange one. I don't know, I kind of like the orange even though it's cut, because I just need a little snip to go down in this corner. And then I thought I would look for some bingo wooden numbers. And I have this jar of miscellaneous, mostly game pieces. Maybe we could grab a tiddlywink too. I don't know. Guess I'll just randomly grab one. So yeah, that's just a kind of a little fun jar to find my three-dimensional stuff. And let's see, how do we want to do this? This is kind of a tube. So I think I'm going to cut the back off of it just so it's not quite as thick, especially since I'm going to put this other stuff on top of it. My Fabri-Tac is still having issues, so I'm going to try it with my art glitter glue. I think I'm going to have to let that dry really good before I tuck it in and out of the pocket. But I'll go ahead and say goodbye to you now, and I'll work on my journaling and let that dry, and I'll see you in the next video. So thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.